Hello guys and welcome. I hope that you're doing well. My name is I play 4K, aka I play 8K, aka I play 16K, or UHD King. During this video today, I'm going to show you Need for Speed 2015 that was released on a console in 2015 but on a PC in 2016, running on my workstation. This is not my gaming PC. This is the workstation from 2020 with the Titan RTX video card, single Titan RTX video card, but this Need for Speed supports SLI, and I'm going to show you SLI on this workstation as well. And the old school Xeon E5-2697 V2 CPU from 2013, but this is enterprise CPU because this is my workstation from 2020, and I'm doing a lot of 8K resolution video, encoding, transcoding, and 3ds Max rendering and other 3D application rendering on this system. Okay, but you can game on this system, and during this video I'm going to show you what kind of performance we can achieve at the right top corner if we're going to game on this system. And in our particular case today, Need for Speed 2015, let's go ahead and have a look, shall we guys? Let me show you my presets real quick. This is 4K resolution native, and everything will be maxed out. Okay, and then I'm going to lower the preset just a little bit. In the end of this video, I'm going to show you my PC specification, such as CPU-Z, GPU-Z, MS Afterburner, IDA64 benchmark. Let's go ahead and get going. The purpose of this video is not the gameplay. The purpose of this video is to show you the performance. And keep in mind that I also recorded the 8K resolution, 12K resolution, and maybe if it's going to be runnable somehow or benchable, 16K resolution. But it was benchable in 12K resolution, but it was already struggling on a single Titan RTX video card on this workstation, on the Xeon E5-2697 V2 CPU that pretty much is the similar performance as the Intel Core i 4th Gen CPU, if you're going to compare it to the home user CPUs by Intel. But this is enterprise CPU, comes with the 12 physical cores, and when the hyper-threading technology is enabled, it's 24 threads or 24 virtual cores, and it's a great rendering system, and this is exactly why I'm using it in 2020. It's still a great system, guys, in 2020, and I'm about to retire this system in 2021. But for the people with a low budget, it's going to be great all-in-one system in the end of 2021 even, and beginning 2022. I predict that this CPU will cost around $79–89, and if you pretty much oriented as workstation, I advise you to go ahead and get yourself ASUS X79 dual socket motherboard, which is the best motherboard. ASUS X79 single socket or dual socket for this workstation, for this CPU, and this brand was the best for the chipset 79. And build yourself a great workstation with the 24 virtual cores, which is single Xeon E5-2697 V2 CPU, or two of them. And if the price will be $79 for $140, $150 for two of them, will be amazing, right? If you cannot get the ASUS, get yourself Super Micro, but Super Micro motherboards kind of expensive, but they're solid server motherboards for the workstation, or try to get yourself ASRock. The cheap scenario will be the Chinese motherboard, dual socket or single socket X79, especially the single socket X79 will be very cheap, like for $50. So the whole system, if you're looking for all-in-one to play games and doing like video encoding, YouTube, 3D rendering, Photoshop, the whole system without the video card will cost you around $250–300. With the 24 virtual cores, which is 24 threads, single Xeon E5-2697 V2 CPU, or if you're willing to spend a little bit more, like $50 more, I advise you to get same Xeon E5 but version 3, because it's going to be a little bit overclockable, but it's going to be like $50–100 more. But that type of system will be a little bit faster than this one. But this one, for the price of $79, $89 for the V2 Xeon E5-2697 V2 will be a great idea, because this is a flagship CPU, and versus the V3, because V3 usually costs $50 more per CPU, keep that in mind. So for a low budget, and in 2022 a lot of people will be building low budget, because the economy going to go into the toilet. This is going to be a great stuff, guys, for you to buy on eBay used like new and build it up. So this is exactly, I'm hoping that you're watching this video if you're planning to build a great all-in-one system, or if you're planning to build a great workstation that still can deliver you a great FPS, as you can see at the right top corner. Display information system at the right top corner updated every second. Okay, and self-explanatory, as you can see. Please keep your eye at the right top corner. I'm trying to keep it as well, but it's kind of hard to do so. As you can see, NFS speed 2015, utilizing below 85% of our GPU on a Titan RTX video card, unfortunately. And because the Titan RTX video card is too fast for this game in 4K resolution, and we cannot utilize all the CUDA cores, and it's not the CPU bottlenecking. I'm going to show you on my gaming PC from 2020, which is i9-9900K overclock at 5.3 GHz, and you're going to see the GPU utilization will be the same, but of course that i9-9900K will be overclocked at 5.3 GHz. The performance will be, in terms of the FPS, much higher, because it's going to be 2.1 GHz faster than this CPU, but that CPU will be 9th gen, and this CPU is Intel 4th gen when comparing to the desktop home user CPUs. And the difference between the next gen will be as minimum 3% for the CPU computing performance, and times 5, because 5 more generation ahead of this CPU will be 15% at least faster than this CPU, and it's going to reflect in terms of the FPS. And this is the minimum that is reflecting in terms of the computing. In terms of the FPS will be also about the same, 10–15% increase in terms of the FPS as well on that gaming i9-9900K overclock at 5.3 GHz. And as again, in PC gaming, it doesn't matter how many cores you have, unless you have the CPU core utilization, overall CPU core utilization above 90% during the gameplay. And as you can see right now during my gameplay, my CPU utilization is below 50%, and which is excellent. I'm not bottlenecking my FPS right now through the CPU core bottleneck, keep that in mind. And of course, higher frequency on the CPU will deliver higher FPS, and newer generation, as I just explained to you, the algorithm will deliver faster percentage in terms of the computing on the CPU on each core, frequency per frequency. Hopefully, guys, this makes sense. The game is beautiful, as you can see. It's just amazing. I really enjoying that, and I believe this is still the best NFS speed even in 2021. So 4K resolution running so smooth, guys, even when the CPU utilization is not excellent, but sometimes, as you can see, jumping back to 94%, but still it's lowering itself below 90 in a lot of times. It's still delivering above 100 FPS average maximum visuals. Let me go ahead and enable disable actually the ambient occlusion, because ambient occlusion and Turing GPU architecture is still taxing a lot. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and disable the ambient occlusion, and we're supposed to have performance boost in terms of the FPS. But let's go ahead and have a look. However, for the 4K resolution, probably not that much, and as you can see, we did indeed by about couple FPS though, because at 4K resolution it doesn't matter. So when you're lowering your visual presets and when your GPU utilization is below 90%, it pretty much doesn't matter. You don't need to lower your visual presets because you're not going to gain any performance boost. Whether we're talking about the Turing GPU architecture or Ampere GPU architecture or even newer GPU architecture of the video card by NVIDIA. All this knowledge, guys, I received all the way back to 4 Titan X Maxwell GPU architectures in SLI, NVIDIA 4-way SLI, and I learned a lot about the GPU performance, starting with 1080p and ending up all the way to 16K resolution. So I have a lot of information to share with you. Don't forget to smash that like button. A lot of time, money, energy was invested. As you can see, this is a player right there. So when you're playing this game on this map right now in the city, you're playing single player. You can play single player at the same time. You can play the multiplayer, so it doesn't matter, which is nice. And as you can see, my car is beauty. Let me go ahead and do some burnouts, but burnout is probably going to utilize our GPU a little bit, but not that much though. But let's go ahead and have a look, shall we? Have a look, guys. Let me go ahead and oops. Supposed to utilize the GPU. Yep, it is 96% right now, 94, 96, so it's above 90, exactly what we want to have. We want to have our GPU utilization above 90. I call great GPU utilization will be like 95-97, and excellent GPU utilization will be 97-99%. This is exactly how we want to do that, because we want to utilize every single CUDA cores or every single shader cores on that Turing GPU architecture, TU102 GPU architecture by NVIDIA, that is right now in my Titan RTX video card. Titan RTX video card is equipped with 24 GB of VRAM GDDR6, same GDDR6 by Samsung as in RTX 2080 Ti video card, but RTX 2080 Ti video card is only equipped with 11 GB of VRAM. But in 4K resolution, it doesn't matter if you're playing Titan RTX or RTX 2080 Ti. Titan RTX will be 256 shader cores faster than RTX 2080 Ti video card, because it's featuring 256 shader cores or CUDA cores more than RTX 2080 Ti GPU. But as again, when we are not utilizing 99%, it doesn't matter. So when you're going to overclock your RTX 2080 Ti, you're going to reach my Titan RTX stock performance when the GPU utilization is below 90% and not utilizing at 99%. So pretty much 1% of not utilized during the gameplay is equal to 43 CUDA cores or 43 shader cores. 10% not utilized will be 430 shader cores or CUDA cores. So go ahead and look at the GPU utilization in the right top corner. Right now 68, which pretty upsetting GPU utilization, but this is what it is in this particular game and in 4K resolution. But what I find out, guys, throughout multiple system testing on Titan RTX, is going to be the scenario like that. At 4K resolution, if you're not using the ray tracing, you're not going to utilize 97 or 99% at 4K resolution. So you're going to waste some shader cores, some CUDA cores, and you're not going to deliver the maximum potential of that GPU. That's why when you're purchasing Titan RTX, you don't want to play 4K resolution. But single Titan RTX video card is not enough for 8K resolution in the titles that was released after 2014. So at the comfortable FPS, so you need to have 2 Titan RTX and SLIs. So when you're purchasing Titan RTX, I advise you to get 2 of them if you're looking for the PC gaming. It's a great gaming video card. Do not listen to naysayers that calling this video card professional video card. There is no such a thing professional video card. When we're comparing RTX 2080 Ti video card versus the Titan RTX video card, which is the same Turing GPU architecture by NVIDIA GPUs, they all can deliver the same deal, the same features. Only Titan RTX featuring 24 GB, so it can take higher load in higher resolutions versus the RTX 2080 Ti video card. But there is just like 2 or 3 applications that allow us to do so. Otherwise, in PC gaming, only above 8K resolution or at 8K resolution, you need to have 24 GB of VRAM, and it depends what year your game was released. If the game was released before 2015, then you don't need to have above 12 GB of VRAM. If the game was released after 2014, then you need to have 24 GB of VRAM to play comfortably without bottlenecking of the VRAM and deliver that FPS the way it should be. Alright guys, so you saw the FPS, as you can see, with the lower values, with the lower visuals, we are receiving lower FPS actually. So we want to crank it up to make sure that we're going to utilize that GPU as maximum as possible. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn now the anti-aliasing. I'm just going to show you real quick all kind of presets, but it's going to be this scenario: the lower visual presets, the lower FPS, and the lower utilization of the GPU. Most definitely you don't want to play Titan RTX on a 1080p or 1440p unless you're playing with the ray tracing. Otherwise you're just going to waste a lot of CUDA cores or shader cores, and it's going to be bunch of waste. So Titan RTX is the video card, is a great only for the SLI, for the PC gaming, and resolution 8K resolution and above. This is when it's going to shine, because this is where you're not going to base your CUDA cores, and you're going to pretty much utilize all of your CUDA cores. Okay, 8K resolution to Titan RTX and SLI will give you an amazing performance all the time at above 60 FPS in the games that was released before 2020, because most of the games that was released in 2020 or in 2021 or newer games will probably featuring the retracing features under DirectX 12 API, and DirectX 12 API doesn't support SLI, so you're not looking to get SLI, keep that in mind, unless the NVIDIA will fix the multi GPU support under DirectX 12 API that is not SLI. This is just a multi GPU rendering performance, and then you're going to be Gucci. Okay, same thing will apply to RTX 2090 and newer video cards, those flagships. So if you playing 4K resolution, you probably want to look at the newer video card middle grade. You don't want to look at the flagship, otherwise you're just going to waste a lot of shader cores, a lot of CUDA cores. Hopefully guys this makes sense. But over UHDking.com, my YouTube channel, I'm guys playing 8K resolution and above, and I'm UHD King. I was the first YouTuber that showed you 16K resolution, and to be able to show you 16K resolution as a benchmark or as a playable gameplays, I need to have at least those flagships video cards, and better to have them in SLI. But as again, the newer games that we will have in the future not going to support SLI, because it's not the NVIDIA fault, it's a DirectX 12 API security issue by Microsoft. They do not support third-party support for the multiple GPU. They only require the developers, the game developers, to develop this feature internally within their application. Okay, because the SLI is pretty much the support by the third party, by the NVIDIA to the driver, and multi-GPU support under DirectX 12 API is totally different story. Hopefully guys this makes sense. This is what those multi-million subscriber YouTube channels such as Linus, Gamers Nexus, that JZ2 Sand, and all those other guys doesn't understand, because they're not software developers. They do not understand, and pretty much they're not gamers as well. They just marketers trying to sell you some hardware all the time. And but I just covered guys to you during this video exactly what it is if you're a beginner, because a lot of beginners watching my YouTube channel. But if you subscribe to me already for a couple years, you probably know this by watching my YouTube videos. So let's go ahead guys and switch it up, and I'm going to wrap it up with this video. So geometry we want to keep at maximum, but for Turing GPU architecture it doesn't matter. So let me real quick go ahead and demonstrate it to you. I'm going to go ahead and bring right now everything to lowest possible preset. Some of my subscribers was asking for this setting, so let me go ahead and do it. So every single preset low as possible, but textures at ultra quality. Let's go ahead and have a look. Yeah, I've increased a little bit of the FPS, a little bit, okay, but just because my GPU utilization was during that time above 92%, but right now it's going to pretty much be all the time below 80%, okay, and the FPS will be as FPS, and even lower the FPS that we receive, same resolution but with the maximum visuals. So what's the point for you not to play the maximum visuals? What's the point for you to play the lowest visuals while delivering lowest FPS, correct? Hopefully guys this makes sense. When the GPU utilization jumping above 90, as you can see, it's increasing the FPSs again, but it's going to happen only at certain conditions, at certain scenarios, on certain level of this map. And wow, what's going on there? There's a car accident. And when pretty much we're going to load a lot of tasks during that portion of the level in our Turing GPU architecture, this is exactly when you're going to start utilizing all the shader cores, and this is exactly when you're going to receive that FPS. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of waste. Hopefully guys this makes sense. The game is beautiful. This is again my favorite Need for Speed. I advise you to buy it on Origin. They still have a lot of people playing it online. You're going to have a lot of fun with this game, and it's kind of cheap game. Go ahead and get it for you on g2a.com or kinguin.com. I'm gonna go ahead and put it for you in the video description. You can grab it pretty cheap, and this game has this beautiful single player. If you're into the single player, as you can see, it has best visuals, even better than Need for Speed Heat, because Need for Speed Heat has that cartoonish reflection into the shadows of the vehicles. This one has just photorealism here, and it has beautiful sounds, as you can see, and I advise you to get it, and you can play it online or single player. There's a lot of people still playing this game, and for car and video cards you can play 4K resolution like nothing in this game and receive 60 FPS healthy, like any RTX 2000 series or RTX 3000 series. Like middle grade video cards will show you great performance. Even the RTX 2080 video card will perform almost about the same as right now this Titan RTX performing in 4K resolution. Guys, don't miss my 8K resolution in this game and 12K resolution and hopefully 16K resolution on this workstation on a single Titan RTX and with the two Titan RTXs in SLI, and then don't miss it on my gaming rig, because I'm going to test this game as well as I tested this game all the way back in 2016. I tested this game in 8K resolution on 4 Titan X Maxwell GPU architecture and 4-way SLI. I'm going to include it for you, and don't miss it out, alright guys? Let's go and raise that dude on the left. Look at that, they're trying to race us. Get out, man. I'm driving my golden Lambo. I'm trying to compete or something, but he has lower speed, so he has a better maneuvers. Look at this, you crashing, everything is just beautiful. It's not lagging, it's just beautiful visuals. You're going to have a lot of fun with this, alright? And of course I can turn down the texture, the lowest possible preset in a second. This is exactly what I'm going to do about in a second. And just to show you completely low, but it's again, what's the point? At lowest possible presets, we're utilizing more CPU cores versus the GPU cores, as you can see, versus the shader cores on the GPU. But let me go ahead and show it to you. On GPU cores we have no problems, because I'm having today 12 physical cores, 12 physical threads. I shut down the hyper threading technology, so I'm not running 24 virtual cores or 24 threads. I'm only running 12 physical cores, 12 threads. But let's go ahead and have a look. So check it out. Did I did it? Let me double check it again. Yep, I set it on low. So everything at the lowest possible preset now. The game has a great physics in the cars, and you can destroy your car as well, make it completely destroyable. And bumper will fall off, and you know, just you're going to enjoy it. This game is amazing. I'm really loving it. As you can see, my car is already damaged. The details doesn't look as good as on 12K resolution, guys. Do not miss the Need for Speed for the first time, world first video gameplay in 12K resolution in Need for Speed on this workstation. I decided to record it first on the workstation. Of course, on my gaming PC it would be much faster FPS, but just because I'm vaping up right now with this Xeon E5-2697 V2 CPU, which is really love. I think this is a great CPU, and I got this CPU for $129 in the beginning of 2020. I just didn't know that it's going to be a great gaming CPU as well. So it's all-in-one low budget system is great, guys, especially if you're doing a lot of video encoding. Let's say if you're a YouTuber, it's going to be a great system you're going to enjoy. Or if you're doing a lot of 3D modeling, 3D texturing. Over the UHDking.com YouTube channel, I'm going to give you a lot of tutorials, 3D modeling, 3D rendering, Photoshop tutorials, so don't miss it out. You will see that I'm experienced graphics designer, 3D artist, gamer, PC hardware enthusiast, PC overclocker, and a software developer. And I'm a system engineer at the same time as well. So I have a lot of information to share with you, and my experience goes above 10 years of experience. So don't miss it out. A lot of great information will be covered for you, and you're going to learn a lot. So don't forget to smash that like button for the support, subscribe, and I'm going to include that 4 Titan X Maxwell GPU architecture, the first Need for Speed 2015 video gameplay in 8K resolution on NVIDIA 4VS Alive with the 4 Titan X Maxwell GPU architecture back in 2016. Do not miss that video. And when you're going to compare my 8K resolution on single Titan RTX and on 2 Titan RTXs in its live versus that 4VS Alive. But that type of computer, my computer from 2016 with 4 Titan X Maxwell GPU architecture, still is a great system even today, and it's going to be a faster than single Titan RTX. Can you believe it? But don't forget to miss that video. You're going to enjoy. That video will be amazing. Alright guys, so I showed you everything what you need to see, so I covered for you. Let me go ahead and quit the game, and actually do it like this. I'm gonna do it like this. I'm going to go into the desktop, and here's my system. As you can see on the background right here, this is my system. It's cooled with the Corsair H100i Pro RGB XT. I believe it's a 3rd generation of H100i cooler, water cooler. I had the first one, I skipped on second one, and this is the 3rd one, which is the RGB series. Beautiful cooler for this CPU, absolutely amazing. And this CPU, guys, is very cold, by the way, and you can lower the voltage above 1.2 volt on this CPU while running 12 core 24 threads stable, which is amazing. This is my gaming rig with 2 Titan RTXs at the right top corner, as you can see. So this is how I was running. Let me real quick go and demonstrate it to you. Everything, all kind of things over here. So first of all, I'm going to show you the GPU Z, CPU Z. Let me open up everything, and I'm about to wrap it up. But for those folks who's curious what kind of performance, some other tips, what I discovered and experienced throughout this workstation. My new workstation in 2021 will be, guys, dual Xeon E5-2697 V2. I mean 2699 V3, not V2. Dual 2699 V3 with total virtual 72 cores, just because I'm doing a lot of 3ds Max rendering, and I'm doing a lot of video encoding, especially 8K resolution, and a lot for the YouTube. when I'm recording 8K resolution video with the hacked NVIDIA Shadow Player that recording native 8K resolution, so I need that power, okay? Otherwise this CPU is more than enough. I really enjoy this CPU, and you know, if I didn't have all those crazy systems that I have, like gaming rig and stuff, this is probably all-in-one system that I would build, and I probably would use it all the way till 2023. Has a lot of horsepower, keep that in mind. So as you can see guys, right here I'm using 12 core 12 threads. As I told you, it's running 3.2 gigahertz from stock. The CPU is running 3 gigahertz with the same scenario, but overclocked. This CPU has a lock multiplier, but it's using the automatic turbo boost by the Intel, but you cannot control the multiplier. It's adjusting multiplier by itself, but you can tweak it. You can overclock the BCLK bus speed on your motherboard bias, and I overclock it from 100 megahertz to 106 megahertz, so 6 megahertz additional. When it's using 106 times 30 is delivering 3.2 gigahertz or almost 3200 megahertz versus 3000 megahertz, which is 3 gigahertz. So additional 2000 megahertz overclock, no matter what kind of scenario you're doing, no matter how many cores you're running, if you're running hyper threading or not, it's still going to be 200 megahertz overclock. And if you're going to lower to 4 cores, it's going to be 3.4 gigahertz, which is great. And for this type of scenario, but for particular game in 4K resolution, I need more than 4 cores to receive the healthy FPS without the CPU cores bottlenecking. Hopefully guys this makes sense. When I'm using 2 cores on the CPU by disabling 10 cores in the BIOS, hopefully thanks God that this motherboard Gigabyte, let me real quick and show it to you. This motherboard is Gigabyte X79 Ultra Durable 3, which is UD3, but this is version 1.1. They have version 1.0 and this version 1.1 with the F20 BIOS from Gigabyte website. The only BIOS that can post this CPU and run this CPU. Otherwise, it's not going to run any other BIOS as this CPU. It's just not going to post it. The computer will be completely silent dead. And to update this BIOS, I use the i7-4930K, my 4th gen gaming desktop user home user CPU that was overclocked to 4.2 gigahertz, but that CPU was only 6 cores, so I double in terms of my amount of the CPU cores and boost up my 8K resolution video encoding or 3ds Max 3D rendering by a lot. That's why I sold that CPU for $100 on the eBay used like new with a nice tactical approach, strategic approach, and I purchased this CPU for $129, only for $29 extra, and I utilized my old school motherboard from 2014, so I didn't invest any money into the motherboard, and I utilized my DDR3 that will be in the quad channel, which is 256-bit, because dual channel will be 128-bit, but quad channel doesn't deliver you double performance, but it indeed deliver you 1.4 times. So this DDR3 4 sticks 8 gigabytes running quad channel will be as fast as DDR4 2133 megahertz CL14, even a hair faster. Keep that in mind in terms of the bandwidth. Okay, it's running, as you can see, 1412 megahertz, which is 706 megahertz times 2 CL7 1T command. And over here I have the IDA 64 GPU benchmark when it's using the OpenCL API while it's benching the GPU versus CPU. This is the only scenario where we can 3D render the CPU and GPU and compare the performance. While my video card was overclocked with as you can see under the MS Afterburner with 100 megahertz on the GPU. Let me zoom in for you real quick. I'm using this zoom tool a lot in 8K resolution and 16K resolution when I'm doing some benchmark in 16K resolution. Go ahead and check out the UHDking.com or iplay16k.com for 16K resolution. I have a lot since 2016, as again I was the first YouTuber that showed you the first 16K resolution gameplay back in 2016 May, before even Linus did. So plus 100 megahertz on the GPU, plus 1000 megahertz on the VRAM, but this is GDDR6, so times 2, so plus 2000 megahertz on the VRAM. So VRAM is running 14,000 megahertz or 7,000 megahertz right here, but right now I'm running memory at 8,000 megahertz times 2, 16,000 megahertz, but when I'm running stock, it's going to pretty much running 7,000 megahertz times 2, 14,000 megahertz. So I increased some for free, some boost on my video card, and increased about 2-3 FPS more. It's like 10%, to be honest with you, healthy 10% of the boost when the video card is overclocked versus when it's running stock. This Titan RTX was dual fan NVIDIA stock design, air cooler, and with NVIDIA thermal compound paste. In my gaming rig I have liquid metal thermal compound paste on my Titans, and I lower my temperature by about 3 Celsius, okay? But that thermal compound paste is kind of expensive, so I'm not advising you. But if you're running an SLI, maybe, but as again, even with liquid metal thermal compound paste and SLI, it's not going to cool it down. So you need to have at least closest video card to the CPU when you're running two-way SLI. Closest video card to the CPU should be on water cooler. Get a water cooler or some closed loop, water cooling loop, at least that first video card. But you can do both, but secondary will be always running 50-55 Celsius. It's cool in the games. I'm talking in the games on air, so it's not necessary to set secondary on the water, especially if you're on a low budget. And this Titan RTX will be a great idea in the middle of 2022. Each video card will cost around $500-$600 used like new on the eBay. Don't forget, if you're playing games, you want to play 8K resolution and you want to have 2 of them in SLI, just like I stated to you. So this is how it's benched under the AIDA64 cache and memory benchmark. It's a great, this read, write, and copy value is faster than DDR4 2133 at CL14. Keep that in mind. So if I'm going to enable the hyper-threading technology, my read, write, and copy value for the level 1, level 2, level 3 cache will improve a little bit, but those value in terms of the latency will be always the same. When I'm running this DDR3 at 1133 megahertz, my latency delay goes to 102 nanoseconds. So pretty much I cut it about 15 nanoseconds for free, not bad. And this DDR3 that I'm using today is going to be Crucial Ballistics Elite that is overclockable to 1800. Let me show it to you, to 1866 megahertz CL9, but it's not stable on this particular motherboard with this particular CPU, Xeon E5-2697 V2, about 1400 megahertz. So I can run on my Core i7 4930K overclock at 4.2 at above 2000 megahertz, this DDR3, but on this particular CPU 1400 megahertz is the fastest, okay? And not bad though. It's under the quad channel, it's showing a great results, as you can see over here, okay? And this is the benchmark, guys, right here, CPU Z. As you can see, multi-thread ratio is above 12x, and I'm only running 12 cores, so I have the excellent CPU utilization in terms of the multi-threading performance, okay? All the 12 cores utilize even faster than 12 cores, which is amazing value in terms of the CPU benchmarks. So it's just a great condition right now, great CPU core utilization, and those 12 core without the hyper-threading technology will be a great thing for PC games that utilizing I would say above 40% of your CPU. Otherwise, if it's going to be like below 20%, this type of scenario, or 20%, this type of scenario will be at 8K resolution, starting at 8K resolution. Then you can cut 8 cores in the motherboard BIOS and only run 4 cores and boosted up your CPU even farther from 3.2 all the way to 3.4, guys. Hopefully this makes sense. But as again, the single thread performance is pretty much, this is exactly what we want to have as high as possible when we're talking PC gaming. But multi-threading performance, this is where we're talking about the workstation. But as again, this is workstation, but I show you all worlds, guys, PC gaming and workstation. Hopefully you appreciate that. Let me open up the GPU Z real quick for you to show you the performance of the Titan RTX for those folks who's curious, real quick. And then I'm going to show you what kind of boost I received through the software overclock, through the MSI Afterburner that I'm considering home safe environment overclock for free additional boost. Why not? But as again, You're doing this on your own risk and expenses, but there is a boost. Let me demonstrate it to you in a CPU Z real quick. So this is the CPU Z. So here's the things, guys. Pixel fill rate 179 gigapixels, textual fill rate 528 gigatexels, and bandwidth 768 gigabytes per second. When I'm going to bring it to stock, check it out. And over here as well, we're going to go from 8,000 to 7,000, so from 16,000 to 14,000 megahertz, lost 2,000 megahertz overclock on the GDDR6, which is amazing. 16,000 megahertz, it's a hair slower than RTX 3090, because RTX 3090 running 19,000 megahertz. So we're just 3,000 megahertz away. But without the overclock, we are not 3,000 megahertz but 5,000 megahertz. So we was not far away from the GDDR6X without GDDR6, with just home safe environment overclocked with the software, which is the MSF to burner, as you saw. Pretty simple to do. I'm going to create a video tutorial for those who's curious, when every single step will be explained. But this is what we got, guys. From 179, I decreased by 7 gigapixels on pixel fill rate to 169 gigapixels, textual fill rate from 538 to 509 gigatexels, and the bandwidth from 758 to 672 gigabytes per second. So indeed we increased some performance by a lot through the free overclock through the software. Hopefully, guys, this made clear sense. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Pretty much I explained to you everything what you need to know. And hopefully, guys, you enjoyed this video. As again, don't forget to smash that like button. A lot of time, money, energy was invested. Subscribe. And my name is I Play 4K, aka I Play 8K, aka I Play 16K, or UGG King. Have a great time. Stay safe. Till the next time.